Hello, hi, Tribe of Habits here on some Lil Sims type stuff, voicing over another training log. This is the fourth training session of my weekly training structure, split, whatever. And this one has a major focus on back bridge work. So, a big chunk of the session is just going to be statics and dynamics of the bridge as a skill. And yeah, this is the other half of my spinal work, spinal erectors and everything like that. Uh, all of that volume, in my case, comes from Jefferson curls and bridge work because a lot of my goals revolve around flexibility of the spine and strength through a big range of motion. And these are just my personal favorite exercises for with this goal in mind. Yeah, so I'm warming up using the foam roller. Foam roller makes my spine feel good. I utilize it to put pressure in different vertebrae, seeing how I'm feeling, just loosening up all around. Then I do the usual shoulder stuff, just part of my routine, gets me in the right mindset to work out. It wasn't that cold today compared to the previous weeks, but it was still not comfortable. Anyways, good enough for me to start in a shirt as opposed to a sweater. Yeah, here's my dog looking at the camera. And what else? This session, apart from the bridge work, also consists of some giant sets, or like one giant set, which is composed of uh, supersets, different supersets. I'll use this session to finish off stuff I haven't touched all week. So neck isolation, extensors work to keep my forearms feeling healthy because I do a lot of flexors work. They're involved in all my pulling volume and whatnot. And on top of that, sometimes I like to go bouldering, which was the case last week. I did a lot of bouldering last week. By the way, I almost did my first 7A, which I'm really psyched about. I'll probably get it either next week or the one after that. I don't know. I'll probably keep you guys updated. And boom, here's the first dynamic. So I did 3 sets of statics. I only recorded the first one, which was part of the warm up. The line was okay. But of course, as I go, the line gets better. And I say it was okay, but when I started doing bridges, that line would have been better than my top set line. Anyways, I did 2 twisting dynamics, and then I'll do a fall. It's not a complete fall, so I'm not in a straight line. It's a sideways fall, in like half twist, basically into bridge walks. I've been training bridge walks for about a year now, and they're giving me a tough time, but they're a lot of fun. And now I've recently started experimenting with twisting my ankles, no, sorry, my wrists inwards. It puts way less strain on them, and it allows me to go somewhat faster. But the objective here is to eventually do runs and not walks, but still a long way to go. Yeah, here the camera slid somewhat, and yeah, onto the giant set, which is um, split squats. Obviously, I start all my unilateral work with the weakest side, which for the legs is the left side, and for the arms is usually the right side, although it depends on the exercise. Yeah, working with 30 kilos here, and this is just brutal. It's as much of a mental exercise than well, I guess not as much. It's probably more of a mental exercise than it is a physical one, because you just have to work so hard to stay in the mindset and stay in the set, not just give in and like cash out, just saying like, oh, I can only do 7. No, you have to stay there, like commit body and soul to doing your set and going hard, because this is so draining. It's just real despair. It's character building, that's for sure. And after that, I'll superset this with both neck isolation, which this time was biting neck deadlifts, and with extensors work, which I'll rotate. But this week I was doing rice bucket as more of a rehab type of thing because, like I said, last week I really attacked bouldering and my forearms were resenting it. So I just wanted to do some blood pumping, make my extensors work, but without really exaggerating on the demands for the flexors. Just stuff that it's not like usually your extensors work really taxes your flexors, right? Because it's extensors isolation, but it's still like I just wanted to avoid anything that would make me feel discomfort in my forearms. It's not like it's an injury, it's not even a tweak, but you just want to avoid it getting to that. It's just listening to your body and being like, man, I'll probably feel better if I just do this time. So that's what I did. Hopefully this angle's cool. It was actually a pain in between sets. So actually the last set, I couldn't even call that a giant set or super set because I had to keep on doing breaks in between to find a good angle to film. Otherwise it would have just been boring to look at it always from the same angle. But anyways, on to the next section. Okay, so now for this week's dose of somewhat cohesive scattered thoughts. I want to implement a different version of this where I also read texts I wrote about different pieces of media, just because a lot of times I just end up writing about my thoughts on something I've consumed and that just is living rent-free in my head and I just need to get it off to a piece of paper so I can think about other stuff as well, free up space in my memory, I guess. Anyways, this time I'm going to be reading a text I wrote about Better Call Saul. It's called Jimmy McGill and the Urge to Give In to Temptation. Saul Goodman is an individual that consistently gives in to the temptation of the misleading, of the gray area, of the in-between where one doesn't necessarily have to play by the rules, both carefully and carelessly, navigating through such territories with no apparent motive, simply for the joy of doing so. Not only being a creature of such habits, he too acts as a pulling force and continuously drags those around him into this area. Jimmy McGill is not a good person, nor is he interested in being one. As Better Call Saul develops, his journey simply starts from an attempt of redemption, followed by a poor act, mere recreation, to finally acceptance and truthfulness. He is living whilst dancing with the devil. He might even be the devil. These habits of his seem almost implemented in his organism, something one simply cannot avoid, as natural as breathing, yet as deadly as ceasing to do so. Lack of guidance, no direction, merrily and foolishly struggling, blessed with charm, yet haunted by it, a charismatic fellow that can't look within himself, one that lives while experiencing the constant pain of not knowing what's missing, confused whilst attempting to follow his brother's footsteps, confused by this brother's hatred, heartbroken by this brother's hatred, consumed by the loss of this brother.